Hi everyone! So this is what I have for the 16 background images. This first one I just did with colored pencil. Did a very light background and I drew some squares. Tried to make it look like they were overlapping a little bit there. The second one was kind of a dual one. I used a lot of watercolors and then I tried flicking the paintbrush to get some of the paint on there. And it works a little better if you wait for it to dry. And then this one kind of ran over from a spray bottle one that I tried to do earlier, but I'd like to see if I can try and make that into something interesting when I do my doodles. This one I ended up liking quite a bit. This one also has some bleed over from a spray project I did, but I think it ended up working out pretty well. I like how it affected the color. This one I also did with watercolor, and then I put some black paint on the bottom of a just like a disposable cup, and I just kind of stamped it on. Tried to make it look really nice compositional wise. And then I saw a strategy on a YouTube video to just like add some droplets in watercolor and then turn the page vertical and let them drip down. And they did that kind of to like make a rain cloud, but mine ended up being a little messier, especially because I didn't wait for the watercolor blue to dry. But I do like how that turned out. And then this next one is just like a continuation of that, except I also added some colored pencil flowers down here. Maybe I can do something big on this page. On this one, I first attempted to do using a spray bottle technique, but I ended up using too much water and it made the page really damp. I also had some tape I ripped off there, so there's a little bit of texture bag right there. But this is a watercolor background with kind of the same technique I did here, except I put some black paint on the really slim end of a card and just like stamped it on. And I did that for both sides. Maybe I could do kind of similar things like hands and feet on these ones. This one, I did a colored pencil background and I kind of outlined it with a darker purple pencil. And then I got acrylic paint and I just did a continuous line all around the two pages. Kind of wish it turned out a little neater, but just trying to do it fast and not trying to make it perfect or anything. I also did the splatter technique with the paintbrush again with some black dots around the outside of this one. I do kind of like how this one turned out. Maybe I would add a black border around the whole side if I was planning on doing it again, and maybe just make it like one curl rather than continuous all around the page. On this next one, me and my partner put some paint on our hands and we just did a bunch of handprints together. And then I added some acrylic paint just as like another element on the top, and I waited for it to dry. So it got kind of like a thin line, lots of variance in like the thickness of my lines here. On this next one, I did a colored pencil background and then I used acrylic paints for these, and I actually tried to use pine cones to make my texture. So I had some good ideas to go with that, just kind of like really dried up tree bits. This one I used for the brown specks. I wish the pine cone pattern had shown up a little bit more, but it's hard to get, those edges in there to show up on the paper when you're just doing it like this. But maybe since I used pine cones and stuff to make the background, I could make this one like maple leaves, or I could even paint a pine cone over it. I think that would be cool. This one, I tried using a paper towel with a little bit of an imprint on it. I don't really have any stencils, but I thought maybe that would be cool if I got it to show up. But I don't think the imprint on the paper towel showed up that much. I just got that paper towel texture on there. And then I went over it with purple watercolor and I did some green splatters. So maybe this would make like a cool border if I wanted to cut out a green piece of paper and draw over that. This next one I like quite a bit. So I got the bright green background, and this one also kind of has the paper towel on it if you look very closely. Used it to dry a little bit. And then this one I did something similar to the pine cones where I used some dried and pressed flowers to kind of press my design for the flowers onto there. And then I did the same thing with a darker green acrylic on this leaf and pressed it down like that. And then I also added some green splatters along there. Hopefully tie it into this one a little bit. And then this one's the last one I did. This one's all colored pencil. I kind of just wanted to try doing a little background with a little more control as my last one. So this one I didn't outline with pencil at all. I just kind of went for it. I started out with a light tone for the yellow and then build up as the trees go higher. Added a little bit of like magenta, reddish at the top of the tree, and then the blue background and a lighter one up there. So that's what I have. Thanks for watching.